A viewer asked me, what do I think about female teachers who sleep with their students, their underage students? Now, fellas, you guys have to understand something, and that is women are women, are women, will always be women. What that means is, regardless of where a woman came from, regardless of her background, her upbringing, her personality, how she was raised and how she grew up, what her taste is in music, what her taste is in food and culture, regardless of her skin color, of any of that, a woman fundamentally and basically is the same as the woman next to her. All women, fundamentally and biologically, are the same. Just like all men are fundamentally and biologically the same. Meaning that we have certain needs as different genders that will always be there. All women want to be loved. All women want a commitment. All women want to be taken care of. All women want a family. I never said when, I said they all do. It might be when she's 20, it might be when she's 60, but she will want it. All women, no exception to that. Mark my words, fellas. Somebody can come in here and argue with me till their faces turn blue. But it's not going to change the fact. The fact is, as a human race, we all have the exact same fundamental needs. Survival, food, shelter, protection, all that, and reproduction. Now, how the reproduction system plays into our mind is a little bit different from man to woman. For us men, since we have millions and millions of sperms that we're producing every couple minutes, it's kind of frivolous for us having sex, spreading our seed, because we have so much of it. We don't value it. We don't value the commitment, the bond, as much as women do. Why? Because they have eggs. All of this is related to biology, related to evolution. All of this. When men back in the days were the stronger creatures, we still are, but women can now protect themselves through the law and police and all that. But back in those days, when I'm just going on a different tangent real quick. Back in those days when women had to solely rely on men and bear their children, they were vulnerable and this, that, and the other, and so we had to take care of them and all that, right? Now, keeping that in mind, just know that a man and a woman will do anything and everything in their power, keyword right there, power, to fulfill those needs. This is why you see men in higher power are having sex with their secretary. This is why you see men are getting on their grind to bang a bunch of chicks. This is why you see men are wanting to have more status, more money, more power to attract the opposite sex, while women are doing what they can in the best of their ability and the best of their power, which is what? Which is making themselves look more appealing to us men. Now, keeping all that in mind, realize that I did say, regardless of what her background, her personality, how she was raised, regardless of any of that, the needs are still there. Those things come into play. Her background, her past, her family upbringing, what her family's like, what her morals are, those things come into play when the question comes, how does she control her impulsive behavior, or how impulsive is she? Because sure, we all have these needs. Sure that as men we want to fuck everything that's walking in front of us. Sure that we want to fuck a 15 or a 16-year-old girl if she got big old titties and big old booty. But does that mean we're actually gonna do it? No, hell no. Why? Because it's illegal as hell. And the consequences outweigh the satisfaction. And we have common sense and or experience and or the education and or the impulsiveness checking power, right? For lack of words, to check that, even though we desire it. So when women teachers are doing things like this, sleeping with their kids, there are certain things that's happening here. First of all, her past is all sorts of fucked up. Because you see that it's not just women teachers. It's any chicks who's doing scandalous shit like this most likely came from a scandalous background. Her family was most likely scandalous. She probably was raped as a kid. All sorts of bad things probably happened to her. I don't know her past, but most likely that's what happened. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is that since that I did mention that biologically our fundamental needs are the same, that means that woman does not have an alpha male in her life. Biologically, all women want to be with an alpha male. As I was saying, all women want to be loved. All women want to be taken care of. All women want to be sitting there thinking about her man. Man, what is he doing? All women have to have that, or want to have that butterfly feelings about thinking about her man. When she's thinking about her man, she wants to have those butterfly feelings in the middle of the day, while she's at work, while she's doing whatever. All women want to have that guy who's going to give her goosebumps, who's going to give her those butterflies, just by the fact of he's just in her mind. That's it. We all know that most women don't come when we're fucking them, right? The cum is mainly for us guys. We bust nuts, but women barely don't. Women usually don't come. So it's the psychological and the emotional connection that's equivalent to our busting nuts for them. And that's why I always said that women are emotional and men are logical. They're slaves to their emotions. And this is why you see women teachers doing shit like this. Because she's emotional as hell, she's impulsive as fuck, she came from a shitty ass background, meaning that her mind is all sorts of fucked up. She has all sorts of weird, fucked up fantasies. And since she did not come from a good background, she doesn't have that impulsive power. She doesn't have that checking power for her impulsiveness. She doesn't have, what's the word am I looking for? She doesn't have that control over her emotions. That's what I mean. There we go. So, and on top of that, she doesn't have a man in her life whose validation she ought to be chasing after. Whose validation she wants to keep chasing after. She doesn't have that man either. So she has emptiness after emptiness after emptiness in her life. No, I don't give a fuck if she's married or have kids or all that. Any of that? No. None of that matters. As long as a woman is not fulfilled mentally, emotionally, psychologically by a man, no amount of kids and no amount of husbands can fulfill that need. It only takes one alpha male to keep his bitch in line, to check his bitch. And he's not doing that. He's not giving her those butterfly feelings. He's not giving her those goosebumps. She doesn't have a man who she's thinking about 24/7, who she's going crazy over. And that's why she's looking out for other validations and fucking her students, even though how sick it is, regardless of how sick it is, seems good enough for her. Seems like a good enough validation for her. That's how much she was craving that. That's my opinion at the end of the day, by the way, fellas. Just letting you guys know that. That's just my opinion. I don't know the woman. All I heard was she was having sex with her underage students. That's about it. Now, After saying all that, just know that this doesn't just apply to women teachers, fellas. Any woman, regardless of what job she's doing, if she lacks those things, the first thing is a good family background. She's coming from a shitty family. She wasn't taught better. The second thing is tied to the first, which is her ability to control her impulsiveness, to control her fairy tale fantasies. And the third thing is there is a lack of a alpha male in her life. Any woman who has those three things going on in her life will do certain things like this, will do crazy shit like this. If you look into women who commit murders, robbery for her man, there's a TV show I think they made that they named For My Man. Bitch is doing all sorts of crazy shit on that. You'll notice that these women that they're portraying on this TV show, most of them, if not all of them, came from a shitty background. So by virtue of that, didn't have a control over her compulsive behavior, and lacked a alpha male who kept her in line. So if there's no man to keep her in check, then she's gonna find that void. She's gonna fulfill that void by things that she wants to do it by. It's fair game at that point for her, in her mind, right? Because she's fucking sick. So it's not just teachers, fellas. And earlier what I was saying about power, that was just an easy access. That power right there, the power dynamics that was going on, she had upper hand over the students. She had more power over the students. That just happened to be her luck. She was just lucky enough to have more power over her students. Or no, she was just lucky enough to be in a situation where the situation favored her to have the upper hand over a certain group of people, which happened to be her students in this case. It's unfortunate, but it happened. So, yeah, just know that, fellas, it's not just teachers, it's not just lawyers and any of that, but any woman who's in that situation, who's lacking those three things, will do certain crazy things like this. And we see more and more teacher stories simply because of that power dynamic. If you take a lawyer or a doctor and put women lawyers and women doctors in front of kids, let them deal with kids, and you have a woman in that group of lawyers and doctors who lack any of these all of these three things, she's gonna do the exact same thing. Then you'll start hearing it in the news that women doctors are sleeping with young underage people, or women lawyers are doing the same. So I strongly believe that all of these three elements have to be present for a woman to do certain things like this. If one or the other is not in the equation, if one or the other is missing from it, she's most likely going to check herself. Fellas, hope this video made sense. Follow me on Instagram at Zeekpeak. Like, comment, subscribe, share this video to your friends. Until next time, stay blessed, stay beautiful, and above all, stay classy.